a common wedding procession in the heart of Tel Aviv, except it was a Mossad operation. Amid the joyous celebrations, the elite Israeli intelligence agency had infiltrated the highest ranks of a rival tech corporation, poised to steal a revolutionary technology that could shift the balance of power in the Middle East. Leading the charge was Noah, a brilliant young operative whose sharp mind and daring spirit had made her an invaluable asset to Mossad. As the bridal party passed by, Noah expertly maneuvered through the crowd, her movements fluid and inconspicuous. Her target, the groom, a senior executive at Cybertech, the corporation developing the coveted invention. Noah's mission was clear: to gain access to Cybertech's impenetrable research facility and retrieve the technology before it fell into the wrong hands. But her adversary was equally determined to keep the billion-dollar breakthrough under lock and key, willing to go to any lengths to protect his company's prize. As the celebrations wound down, Noah made her move, slipping into the groom's car undetected. With precision and grace, she disabled the vehicle's tracking system and rerouted the driver to a remote safe house where her team of covert operatives awaited. Time was of the essence. Cybertech's CEO, a ruthless and calculating businessman, had caught wind of the infiltration and was mobilizing his private security forces to hunt down the perpetrators. Noah and her team knew they had to act fast, their window of opportunity narrowing with each passing minute. At the safe house, Noah and her fellow agents pored over the intel they had gathered, mapping out the next phase of their mission. The Cybertech facility was a fortress, guarded by state-of-the-art security systems and a small army of highly trained personnel. Breaching its defenses would require all of their collective skills and ingenuity. As they strategized, Noah couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The fate of national security hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. Steeling her resolve, she led her team in meticulously planning their infiltration, anticipating every possible contingency. When the time came, Noah and her operatives executed their plan with surgical precision. Utilizing a combination of digital hacking, social engineering, and old-fashioned subterfuge, they navigated the labyrinth of security measures, inching ever closer to their prize. The tension mounted as they approached the core of the facility, where the revolutionary technology was kept under the tightest of scrutiny. Noah's heart raced, her senses heightened, as she and her team engaged in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse with Cybertech security forces. In a daring, breathtaking sequence, Noah and her team managed to breach the inner sanctum, coming face to face with the coveted technology.
But their triumph was short-lived, as they found themselves confronted by the Cybertech CEO himself, a cold, calculating adversary determined to protect his company's crown jewel. The ensuing confrontation was one of wits and cunning, a clash of wills that pushed Noah and her team to the brink. With nerves of steel and quick thinking, they outmaneuvered their opponent, ultimately securing the revolutionary technology and making their escape, leaving the Cybertech CEO and his security forces in their wake. As they fled the scene, Noah knew that their mission had been a success, but the consequences of their actions would reverberate across the global stage. The cat-and-mouse game had only just begun. As Noah and her team fled the Cybertech facility, the gravity of their mission became increasingly clear. Their target was none other than Hamid Ashraf, the elusive CEO of Cybertech and a central figure in Iran's illicit weapons program. In the volatile geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, the balance of power had long been shaped by the rivalry between Israel and Iran. For decades, the two nations had engaged in a complex game of strategic one-upmanship, each vying for regional dominance and the ability to project their influence across the region. Cybertech's revolutionary technology, a breakthrough in quantum computing, held the potential to shift this delicate equilibrium. By harnessing the power of quantum encryption, Ashraf's invention could render Israel's cutting-edge cyber defenses obsolete, leaving the country vulnerable to Iranian cyber attacks and intelligence gathering. The implications were staggering. If Ashraf were to share this technology with the Iranian regime, it would not only compromise Israel's national security, but also threaten the fragile stability of the entire region. The balance of power in the Middle East could be irrevocably tilted in Iran's favor, with devastating consequences for Israel and its allies. Noah and her Mossad team understood the gravity of the situation all too well. Failure to retrieve the technology and stop Ashraf's plans could have catastrophic ramifications, jeopardizing the safety and security of millions of people. The stakes had never been higher. As they sped away from the cybertech facility, Noah and her team began to formulate their next move. They knew that Ashraf would not rest until he had recovered his prized invention, and that he would stop at nothing to eliminate the Mossad operatives who had infiltrated his company. The team's immediate priority was to secure the quantum computing technology and ensure it did not fall into the wrong hands. They would need to move quickly and decisively, anticipating Ashraf's every move and staying one step ahead of his relentless pursuit. Noah's sharp mind raced as she considered their options. They could attempt to neutralize Ashraf directly, but that would be a high-risk endeavor fraught with complications.
Alternatively, they could try to lure him into a trap, using the technology as bait to draw him out and apprehend him. Either way, no one knew that they would be facing off against a formidable adversary. Ashraf was not only a ruthless businessman, but also a skilled tactician with deep ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and its extensive network of operatives. Outwitting him would require all of Noah's intelligence, cunning, and guile. As the team reviewed their intel and formulated a plan of action, Noah couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The stakes were higher than ever, and the consequences of failure were unthinkable. But she also knew that Mossad had trained her for just such a moment, and that her team was the best of the best. With renewed determination, Noah outlined the operational plan to her fellow agents. They would need to move quickly, striking at the heart of Ashraf's network and neutralizing his ability to retaliate. The window of opportunity was narrow, and they couldn't afford to make a single mistake. As the team prepared to execute their mission, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger and more complex game. Hamid Ashraf was a formidable adversary, and his connections to the Iranian regime made him a threat that extended far beyond the borders of Israel. The fate of the Middle East, and perhaps even the world, hung in the balance. Noah and her team knew that they were the last line of defense, the only one standing between Ashraf's ambitions and a potential global catastrophe. With their skills, their wits, and their unwavering commitment to their country, they would have to prevail. As they set out to execute their plan, Noah could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. This was no ordinary mission. It was a high-stakes gamble that would determine the course of history. Failure was not an option. The strike. As the Mossad team sped away from the cybertech facility, Noah's mind raced with contingency plans. Ashraf would stop at nothing to recover his prized quantum computing technology, and they needed to stay one step ahead. Their first order of business was to secure the delicate equipment and conceal its location from Ashraf's relentless pursuit. Noah directed the driver to a nondescript safe house on the outskirts of Tel Aviv, where their tech specialists could begin analyzing the stolen data. Upon arrival, the team swiftly went to work. Avi, a seasoned electronics expert, carefully dismantled the components, shielding them from any potential digital or physical tampering. Meanwhile, Liat, their resident cybersecurity specialist, initiated a multi-tiered encryption protocol, rendering the data virtually impenetrable. As the tech team carried out their tasks, Noah and the rest of the operatives began the process of assuming new identities. Rifling through a cache of carefully curated disguises, they transformed themselves into unassuming civilians, a middle-aged businessman, a young mother, a retired schoolteacher. Noah herself became Daphne, a well-to-do widow attending a funeral in the heart of Tel Aviv. Her flawless Hebrew, coupled with a meticulously crafted backstory, would allow her to blend seamlessly into the crowd, her true purpose concealed beneath the veil of mourning. The team dispersed throughout the city, each operative taking on a specific role in the unfolding operation. Liat and Avi remained at the safe house, continuing to safeguard the stolen technology. The rest fanned out, employing a network of contacts and safe houses to gather intelligence on Ashraf's movements and plans. Noah, in her guise as Daphne, made her way to a crowded funeral home, where she quietly observed the proceedings, her keen eyes scanning the room for any sign of Ashraf or his associates. She moved with the grace of a seasoned operative, her mourner's veil concealing the intensity of her focus. As the service ended, Noah slipped away, making her way to a bustling cafe where she was to rendezvous with Yuval, an undercover agent embedded within Cybertech's security team. Over strong coffee and pastries, they exchanged a series of coded messages, sharing critical intel about Ashraf's movements and the heightened security measures at the Cybertech facility. Noah's brow furrowed as she listened, her mind rapidly formulating a new plan of action. Ashraf was proving to be a more formidable adversary than they had anticipated, and his security network was proving difficult to penetrate.
they would need to adapt their strategy, finding new and innovative ways to outmaneuver their target. Leaving the cafe, Noah made her way to an upscale salon, where she was greeted by Mossad, a fellow operative posing as a high-end stylist. Ushered into a private room, Noah underwent a dramatic transformation, her dark hair bleached and styled into an elegant updo. With a touch of makeup and the addition of a pair of designer sunglasses, she became the embodiment of a wealthy socialite. As Noah examined her new persona in the mirror, she couldn't help but feel a surge of confidence. The disguise was flawless, and she knew that it would be the key to her next move. Bidding Mossad farewell, she headed out into the bustling streets of Tel Aviv, her steps purposeful and her gaze unwavering. Noah's destination was a lavish hotel where she had learned that Ashraf was scheduled to attend a private function. Slipping past the security guards with ease, she made her way to the opulent ballroom, blending seamlessly with the other well-heeled guests. Her keen eyes scanned the room, searching for any sign of her target. Then, just as she was about to give up, Noah spotted him, Hamid Ashraf, surrounded by an entourage of bodyguards and associates.
Taking a deep breath, she steeled her nerves and began to make her way towards him, her plan of action unfolding with each careful step. The moment of truth. Noah's heart pounded as she made her way through the lavish hotel ballroom, her elegant disguise as a wealthy socialite providing the perfect cover. Her eyes were trained on her target, Hamid Ashraf, the elusive CEO of Cybertech, surrounded by a small army of bodyguards. Weaving through the crowd of well-heeled guests, Noah's mind raced with the details of her plan. She had to get close to Ashraf, close enough to plant the tiny tracking device that would allow the Mossad team to monitor his every move. It was a delicate operation, requiring precision and perfect timing. As Noah neared the inner circle of Ashraf's entourage, she caught the eye of one of the bodyguards. Her heart skipped a beat, but she refused to show any sign of nervousness, offering the man a dazzling smile as she pretended to admire the opulent decor. Slowly, deliberately, she inched closer, her fingers itching to activate the tracking device hidden in the palm of her hand. She could feel the weight of the tiny electronic device, a lifeline that would guide her team to Ashraf's location, no matter where he went. Suddenly, Ashraf turned, his eyes sweeping the room. Noah froze, her breath catching in her throat as their dizes locked. For a moment, she was certain that her cover had been blown, that the shrewd businessman had detected the hidden purpose behind her elegant facade. But then, to Noah's relief, Ashraf's attention was diverted by one of his associates, and she seized the opportunity, casually sidling up to the CEO and subtly reaching out to grasp his sleeve, as if to get his attention. In a single, fluid motion, Noah activated the tracker, the tiny device adhering to the expensive fabric of Ashraf's suit jacket. She held her breath, praying that the operation had gone unnoticed, and then slowly withdrew her hand, her lips curving into a coy smile. "Pardon me, Mr. Ashraf," she murmured, her voice low and melodic. "I couldn't help but notice your lovely cufflinks. They're exquisite." Ashraf blinked, momentarily taken aback, and then a smile spread across his face. "Why, thank you, my dear," he replied, his tone warm and indulgent. "I do have a fondness for fine accessories." Noah felt a twinge of revulsion at Ashraf's condescending manner, but she forced herself to maintain her composure, batting her eyelashes demurely. "I can certainly appreciate that," she purred. "Perhaps you'd be willing to share the name of your jeweler. I'm always on the lookout for new sources of inspiration." As Ashraf launched into a lengthy explanation of the provenance of his cufflinks, Noah's mind was already racing, cataloging every detail of his movements and the layout of the room. Her team would be monitoring his every step, poised to strike at the opportune moment. Suddenly, Noah felt a subtle vibration in the hidden pocket of her dress, a signal from her teammates. Glancing discreetly at her wristwatch, she noted the time and nodded imperceptibly, her heart pounding with anticipation. The moment had arrived. Excusing herself with a coy smile, Noah stepped back, her gaze sweeping the ballroom. In the shadows near the exit, she caught a glimpse of her fellow operatives, their movements fluid and precise as they began to converge on Ashraf's position. Noah's pulse quickened as she watched the operation unfold, her training and instincts taking over. She knew that her teammates were executing their plan with flawless precision, their movements timed to the second. Suddenly, the ballroom erupted into chaos as Ashraf's bodyguards were ambushed by the Mossad team, their swift and decisive actions catching the security detail off guard. Amid the shouts and the commotion, Noah saw Ashraf being hustled away by his remaining guards, his eyes wild with panic. Without hesitation, Noah broke into a sprint, her long dress billowing behind her as she raced after the fleeing CEO. She could hear the thunderous footsteps of her teammates close behind, their pursuit relentless.
As Noah reached the hotel's service entrance, she caught a glimpse of Ashraf's limousine speeding away, the tires screeching on the pavement. Without slowing her pace, she leapt into a waiting SUV, her fellow operatives piling in behind her. The chase was on. The chase. Noah's heart pounded as the SUV sped through the crowded streets of Tel Aviv, the tires screeching around sharp turns as they pursued Hamid Ashraf's fleeing limousine. The Mossad team had executed their plan flawlessly, infiltrating the high-security cybertech facility and making off with the revolutionary quantum computing technology. But now, their success had set off a frantic chase, with the fate of the Middle East hanging in the balance. In the back seat, Noah gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles turning white as she stared intently out the window. She could see Ashraf's car weaving through traffic, its black-tinted windows a barrier between the cybertech CEO and the world he was desperately trying to escape. "He's heading for the airport," Liad, the team's cybersecurity specialist, announced from the passenger seat, her fingers flying across the tablet in her hands. "I'm tracking his movements, but he's got a head start." Noah's jaw tightened. If Ashraf made it to the airport, he could slip away, disappearing into the chaos of international air travel and taking the stolen technology with him. They couldn't let that happen. "Floor it," she commanded the driver, her voice terse and authoritative. "We can't let him get away." The SUV surged forward, the powerful engine roaring as they hurtled through the crowded streets, weaving between cars and narrowly avoiding collisions.
Noah could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, her senses heightened as she scanned the road ahead, searching for any opening that could bring them closer to their target. Suddenly, Liat let out a gasp. "They've called in backup. Ashraf's security team is mobilizing, and they're headed our way." Noah gritted her teeth. Of course Ashraf wouldn't go down without a fight. He was a ruthless businessman with deep connections to the Iranian regime, and he knew the stakes were too high to allow the Mossad team to succeed. "Evasive maneuvers," she commanded, her eyes narrowing as she spotted the sleek black SUVs in her rearview mirror, their sirens blaring. "We need to lose them, and fast." The driver expertly navigated the chaotic traffic, weaving between cars and taking sharp turns that left Noah's stomach churning. She could feel the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders, the fate of her country, and the delicate balance of power in the Middle East resting on the success of this mission. As they approached the airport, Noah could see the limousine in the distance, its tires squealing as it made a desperate bid for the terminal. "We're running out of time," she growled, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. Suddenly, a volley of gunfire erupted, the sharp cracks echoing through the air as Ashraf's security team opened fire on the Mossad vehicle. Noah instinctively ducked, her heart racing as she heard the glass shatter and felt the SUV lurch to the side. "We've been hit," the driver shouted, his voice strained. "I'm losing control." Noah's mind raced, her training and instincts kicking in as she assessed the situation. They couldn't afford to lose Ashraf, not when they were so close to securing the technology and preventing it from falling into the wrong hands. But the safety of her team was also paramount. "Keep going," she ordered, her voice calm and resolute. "I'll handle this." Ignoring the protests of her teammates, Noah gripped the door handle and prepared to leap from the moving vehicle. As the SUV swerved, she launched herself out, rolling across the pavement and coming to a stop in a crouch. Adrenaline pumping, she drew her weapon and began to sprint towards the airport, her eyes fixed on the retreating limousine. Ashraf was not going to escape, not on her watch. Noah raced forward, her muscles burning with the exertion, but her determination never wavering. She had come too far to let this opportunity slip through her fingers. As she approached the airport terminal, Noah could see Ashraf's security team converging on the limousine, their guns drawn. She knew she had only moments to act, to intercept the cybertech CEO before he could disappear into the chaos of the airport. With a surge of speed, Noah closed the distance, her weapon raised and her finger on the trigger. She was mere steps away from Ashraf, the fate of the Middle East hanging in the balance. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of everything she had trained for. Noah's eyes narrowed, and she prepared to take the shot that would change the course of history. The final showdown. Noah's finger tightened on the trigger as she closed in on Hamid Ashraf, the cybertech CEO's black limousine surrounded by a phalanx of armed security guards. The stakes had never been higher. The balance of power in the Middle East hung in the balance, and Noah knew that she couldn't let Ashraf escape. As she drew closer, Noah's keen eyes assessed the situation, mapping out the best path of attack. The guards were well-trained and heavily armed, but Noah had the element of surprise on her side. She just needed to find the right opening, the moment when she could neutralize Ashraf and secure the stolen quantum computing technology. Noah's heart pounded in her chest as she inched forward, her weapon trained on the limousine. She could see Ashraf inside, his face twisted in a mask of terror as he realized the net was closing in.
The Cybertech CEO was a ruthless, calculating man, but even he knew that he was no match for the Mossad's elite operatives. Just as Noah was about to take the shot, a sudden movement caught her eye. One of the guards had spotted her and was raising his weapon, his finger tightening on the trigger. Instinctively, Noah ducked and rolled, the crack of gunfire ringing out as the guard's bullet whizzed past her. In the chaos that followed, Noah surged forward, her weapon barking as she took down the guards one by one, her aim precise and her movements fluid. She couldn't afford to miss, not when so much was at stake. As Noah closed in on the limousine, Ashraf's eyes widened in fear. The Cybertech CEO knew that his luck had run out, that the Mossad had foiled his plans to smuggle the quantum computing technology out of the country. With a final desperate lunge, Ashraf flung open the limousine door and tumbled out, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. Noah didn't hesitate, her weapon trained on the businessman's chest as she approached. "It's over, Ashraf," she said, her voice cold and unwavering. "You're coming with us." Ashraf's face twisted with rage, but he knew he was outmatched. The Mossad had won this round, and the balance of power in the Middle East had shifted irrevocably. As Noah's teammates converged on the scene, securing the stolen technology and apprehending Ashraf, the gravity of the situation began to sink in. This wasn't just a victory for the Mossad, it was a triumph for Israel, a blow to Iran's ambitions, and a seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape of the region. The quantum computing technology that Ashraf had sought to steal was a game-changer, a breakthrough that could have given Iran a crucial advantage in the ongoing conflict. But now, with the technology safely in Mossad's hands, Israel had the opportunity to leverage it to bolster its own defenses and counter the Iranian threat.
For Noah, the mission had been a success, but she knew that the ramifications would be felt far beyond the borders of Israel. The capture of Hamid Ashraf and the recovery of the quantum computing technology would have far-reaching consequences, shaking the foundations of the Middle East's delicate power balance. As Ashraf was led away in handcuffs, Noah couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. This wasn't just a victory for her team, it was a victory for her country, for the cause of peace and stability in the region, and she knew that the reverberations of this operation would be felt for years to come. In the aftermath of the daring mission, Noah and her fellow Mossad agents would be lauded as heroes, their names whispered with reverence in the halls of power. But for Noah, the true significance of their triumph lay not in the accolades, but in the knowledge that they had done their part to shape the course of history, to protect their nation and its people from the threats that lurked in the shadows. As she watched the sun set over Tel Aviv, Noah felt a sense of resolve settle in her bones. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, one in which Israel would wield the power of cutting-edge technology to secure its future and safeguard its sovereignty. And she would be there, at the forefront of the battle, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The final chapter. In the aftermath of the daring Mossad operation, the shockwaves reverberated across the global stage. Hamid Ashraf, the disgraced CEO of Cybertech, was swiftly extradited to Israel, where he faced a battery of charges ranging from espionage to conspiracy to commit terrorism. The recovery of the revolutionary quantum computing technology was a triumph for Israeli intelligence, a critical blow to Iran's illicit weapons program, and a seismic shift in the delicate balance of power in the Middle East. As Ashraf's interrogation unfolded, a comprehensive picture emerged of the Cybertech CEO's deep ties to the Iranian regime. For years, he had been funneling sensitive research and development data to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, providing them with a crucial advantage in their ongoing cyber warfare against Israel and its allies. The quantum computing breakthrough was the crown jewel of this covert operation, a technology that could have rendered Israel's advanced defensive systems obsolete, leaving the country vulnerable to Iranian cyber attacks and intelligence gathering. Noah and her Mossad agents had not only thwarted Ashraf's plans to smuggle the technology out of the country, but they had also uncovered a vast network of Iranian operatives and sympathizers embedded within Cybertech's ranks. This revelation sent shockwaves through the global tech industry as companies rushed to reevaluate their own security protocols and scrutinize their supply chains for potential vulnerabilities. The political fallout was equally profound. Israel's leadership hailed the Mossad operation as a triumph of national security, a testament to the country's unwavering commitment to protecting its citizens and its strategic interests. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a televised address, praised the heroic actions of Noah and her team, pledging to use the recovered quantum computing technology to bolster Israel's cyber defenses and counter the Iranian threat.
The international community, however, was more divided in its response. While the United States and several European allies applauded Israel's actions, condemning Iran's attempts to undermine regional stability, other nations were more cautious in their assessments. Russia and China, both of which had long-standing economic and political ties to Iran, denounced the operation as a violation of international law and a dangerous escalation of tensions in the Middle East. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session to address the crisis, with heated debates erupting over the appropriate course of action. Some called for tougher sanctions against Iran, while others advocated for a diplomatic solution to defuse the situation. Ultimately, a fragile compromise was reached, with the Council issuing a stern warning to Iran and calling for a resumption of nuclear negotiations. For Noah and her Mossad colleagues, the successful mission was a bittersweet victory. They knew that the recovery of the quantum computing technology was a critical step in safeguarding Israel's national security, but they also recognized the broader implications of their actions. The delicate balance of power in the Middle East had been irrevocably altered, and the region was now on the brink of a new era of heightened tensions and potential conflict. In the months that followed, Israel worked tirelessly to leverage the quantum computing technology to enhance its cyber defenses and intelligence-gathering capabilities. The breakthrough allowed the country to stay one step ahead of Iran's rapidly evolving cyber threats, thwarting a series of attempted attacks and disrupting the regime's plans to destabilize the region. The political fallout, however, continued to reverberate. Iran, stung by the humiliation of having its prized technology stolen, ratcheted up its rhetoric and military posturing, vowing to take decisive action to defend its national interests. The threat of open conflict between Israel and Iran loomed large as both nations jockeyed for position and influence in the volatile Middle East. Noah, now celebrated as a national hero, found herself at the center of the geopolitical maelstrom. Her role in the cybertech operation had catapulted her into the public eye, and she was increasingly sought after by policymakers and military strategists, her insights and expertise invaluable in shaping Israel's response to the evolving security landscape. As she navigated the complexities of this new reality, Noah couldn't help but reflect on the profound impact of her actions. The Mossad operation had not only secured a crucial technological advantage for Israel, but it had also set in motion a chain of events that would redefine the balance of power in the Middle East for years to come. The fate of the region, and perhaps the world, now hung in the balance, with Noah and her Mossad colleagues at the forefront of the battle to protect their nation's interests and preserve the fragile peace. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily on her shoulders, but Noah was determined to rise to the challenge, her unwavering commitment to her country and her people driving her forward. In the end, the cybertech operation would be remembered as a pivotal moment in the history of the Middle East, a turning point that set the stage for a new era of geopolitical uncertainty and the enduring struggle for regional supremacy. And at the heart of it all was Noah, a brilliant young Mossad operative whose daring and tenacity had changed the course of history.